talking time lapse, we've got 6 tips, and here is tip number
1.
Okay, so if this is something that you're going to want to try, you're going to need to make sure that you're prepared, because this isn't a 5-minute project that you're going to be doing. You're going to be sat wherever it is you are for quite a long time, so you need to make sure that you've got enough batteries. You need to make sure you've got enough memory on the card, the right type of clothing, some sweets, coffee, whatever it is that you feel is going to help you to stay where you are for the duration that you're doing this time lapse. Tip number
2.
Okay, so the tip is location and time. You might have seen during the intro I was in various places. I was on the moors, I was on the side of the road. Well, I wasn't on the side of the road. What I'd actually done is can I say this? I'd actually attached my camera to a road sign. It wasn't obstructing the road sign, it was just a tiny, don't know where it is, it's that small I can't even find it. So it was just a tiny camera that I had capturing that. Now I need to make sure that wherever I am, I'm going to be there at the right time. If I want to capture the sunset, I want to make sure that I arrive there possibly during the golden hour, and then into the dark, just so that you get a nice flow of light. It's pointless arriving there a couple of hours beforehand, because you're not going to get anything for a long time. You're just going to be taking up space on your camera, and then it's going to be quite frustrating, and you might lose that. You actually might lose interest by the time you get to where you needed to. So time and location. Tip
3.
So tip 3 is tripod. Always make sure you've got a tripod. If you don't have a tripod and your camera's set up for a long time, and there's wind and there's movement and there's everything else, the chances are that by the time you have a look at them, they're all over the place, and it's just not going to work. The one that I did at the side of the road, which I mentioned, I'd attached to a road sign. It was extremely windy. That was just this week, Friday it was, and the wind was that strong it was even moving the roadside, but not enough to make a big issue with it. But ultimately, if your camera needs to capture something, it needs to be stable. Take a tripod.
4.
So tip 4 is manual. Now what I mean by that is, if you've got a camera where you've got an automatic function, so you just point and shoot and it works it all out for you, you're probably not going to get the best results from that. If you've got any type of manual setting on your camera, that's ideal, because basically what's going to happen is, if you're shooting a light source which is going to change and you've got it on automatic, it's going to adjust itself to try and capture the same level of light, and that isn't what you're after. What you're after is light going to whatever light you want to finish off with. So by having manual settings, you're fully in control of this. If you need to crank up the ISO slightly, if you need to adjust anything else, at least then you're in control of that and you can see what's happening.
5.
So tip 5 is composition. And what I mean by this is, if you take just a standard picture of something, you look at it and you think, actually I might be able to get a better angle from somewhere else, it's not a problem to do that. But if you're setting your camera up for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or whatever length it is that you're going to be there, you need to make sure that the composition is how you want it. The amount of shots that I've done where I've done the star trail and I've gone on, I just think, I really should have done something better with that, and a waste of time as well. So make sure before you do anything on your camera where it's setting off the interval of shots, what I would say is, make sure what you want in your head or in your eye, what you see in your eye, is on the camera.
6.
So tip number 6 is, well, I'll tell you what tip number 6 isn't, and because there's a lot of technical things to this, you could have numerous tips, but you've obviously got to put a stop as to how many tips that you want to talk about. Really, the reason I picked 6 is because there was somebody else that was doing 5, and I thought, oh well, I'll outdo them by doing an extra tip for free. Well, they're all free, but anyway, so you can do. There's all sorts of things you can look at the interval time. You can look at how many pictures that you want to take during the time. You might want to have a look at the gap between each picture, depending on the movement. There might be different lenses that you want, or software. Literally endless tips. And the way I do it isn't necessarily the only way to do it. This is just how I do it, and I'm just telling you how I've done some of these. So you just find your own way, really, if you want to do it. But tip 6, when I eventually get around to it, is just enjoy it. Enjoy what you're doing. If you're into watching traffic, get the traffic done. If you're into sunsets, if you're into star trails, whatever you're into, make sure you enjoy it, because as I say, it's a long time that you sat there, or a long time you're at this location, and if you don't enjoy it, you're not gonna get the results that you want, and you probably won't end up doing it again. So there we go. Okay, so that's it. I hope those tips are useful if you want to go and try that. But if you've got any questions or anything, just pop a question on whatever format you're watching this on. The main one is YouTube, so if you are on YouTube and you want to subscribe, that's brilliant. At least then what will happen is you'll get to see when I do the next video. If you want to like it, that's fantastic. And in the meantime, I will see you later.